The Holy Book, Sefer Hayashar, Episode 82. Our sages have said that in the merit of 4 things were our forefathers redeemed from Egypt. In the merit of the righteous women, in the merit of not changing their names, in the merit of not changing their language, and in the merit of their exclusive trust in the Holy One, blessed is He. Sota 11b, Vayikra Rabbah 32.5, Yalkut Hosea 5:19. And just as it was our first redemption, so will it be our final one. Thus, the final redemption will also take place in the merit of the righteous women. This is why women must be more modest than men and refrain from following their heartstrings in imitating the fashion of the nations. I have observed in recent times, for example, that the ranks of the rebellious pursuing the fashions of the Gentiles have swelled until there was no longer any distinction between the Jewess and the Gentile. Through this, they bring much evil into the world. One evil is that they cause the multitude to sin through gazing at them and their garments. For we rule that it is forbidden to gaze even at a woman's colored garments. Avodah Zarah 20b. A second evil is that they provoke the jealousy and hatreds of the Gentiles, for they fix their eyes upon us, noticing that the Jewish women wear even more aristocratic than the noble women of the nations. The truth is that we are in the midst of a bitter exile. Therefore, it would be more fitting for us to dress in black to show our grief over the length of the exile and the destruction of the holy temple, and over the plight of our Jewish brethren immersed in oppression and captivity. However, not only do we fail to mourn, we actually add to our sins, for the women go about with their necks outstretched bare down to their breasts. Who can relate the terrible punishments awaiting them? For they impede the redemption on account of our many sins. A third evil is what they do to their husbands. For if a man cannot afford to clothe his wife in the way her friends dress, she curses him and complains until he is compelled to borrow money or even commit a financial injustice towards his fellow to gain more funds. In the end, he is forced to provide his wife with beautiful and immodest garments like those of her companions. Then when he is unable to pay, either he is arrested or else he endures some other indignity. Therefore, a proper and modest woman of Israel must be sure to conduct herself modestly rather than licentiously, so that from her will come forth prophets and saints. The second merit, on account of which our forefathers were redeemed from Egypt, was that they did not change their names. In our generation, on the other hand, I have observed that the rebellious of the nations, the same ones who go about dressed after the fashion of the nations, commit the further evil of shaving off their beards, by which they trespass 5 prohibitions. For there are 5 corners of the beard, each one of which is a separate transgression. Makos 20a, Torah's Kohanim 19.74. Moreover, on account of this, it is often impossible to discern that he is a Jew. Then when someone asks him his name, he introduces himself by a Gentile name. Sometimes he goes traveling with Gentile aristocrats to places where he is not known, and while he is there, he allows himself to eat carrion and drink forbidden wine. For one sin leads to another, just as one good deed leads to another. Pirkei Avos 4.2. When a person changes his name, not only does he harm his own body and soul, but he also does an injustice to the entire Jewish people. Therefore, one day he will be made to reckon for it, and his punishment will be great. The third merit is that our ancestors did not change their language. Nowadays, however, on account of our many sins, many people have adopted an improper course. For we rule that when one's children are young, one must study all things with them in the holy tongue. Sifrei Akev 46. That way, when they grow up, they will become accustomed to the holy practice of conversing in the holy language. But in recent times, people have begun accustoming their young children to conversing in French and other languages. Moreover, when they grow older, instead of sending them to the study hall, their fathers insist that they attend an academy for the study of French and other languages. This is a terrible stumbling block. Although it is true that the members of the Sanhedrin were able to speak 70 languages, Sanhedrin 17a, they studied them only on the side, not as a main course of study. But now these people make French and other tongues their principal subject and study Torah on the side. The fourth merit is that our ancestors placed their trust in the Holy One, blessed is He. But now I see, on account of our many sins, only 1 in 1,000 places his trust in the Holy One, blessed is He, while most people in the world place their trust in wealth and in mortals who have no power to save. That is why we see that the poor have plummeted to such depths. Meanwhile, the wealthy who have taken all the authority for themselves consider the poor to be a nuisance. As a result of this situation, no one places his trust in the Holy One, blessed is He. Instead, the sycophants who put their trust in the rich are on the increase. It goes without saying that they do not recall the destruction of the Holy Temple, or the bitterness of the exile, or its length, nor does it occur to them to pray regarding these things. Whereas if they placed their trust in the Holy One, blessed is He, mourning over the destruction of the Holy Temple and the length of the exile would always be in the forefront of their minds. Therefore, a person must resolve in his mind not to delay the redemption, but to place his trust only in the Holy One, blessed is He. Whoever is conscientious regarding the 4 things mentioned above, on account of which our forefathers were redeemed, will merit hastening of our redemption. For the final redemption will resemble the first redemption, in that it will also come about in the merit of these 4 things. May it occur speedily in our days. Amen.